You're like a 3-year-old.
True
All right,
story.
here goes. We're live, so here goes. Stop keyboarding, Jeremy.
Hands off. Hands
All right,
off.
all right. I got that literally. Performance on Demand podcast number 48. In
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Performance on Demand podcast with Craig and Jeremy, where you will learn all things endurance sports from training and nutrition to mental strength. Everything you need and want to know in one place.
Welcome everyone to Performance on Demand podcast. I am your host Craig Willard, along with Miss Jeremy Brown.
Miss. Damn it. I get a title every time it was Miss this time. Son of a bitch.
What's up, Mrs.?
What's up, dude? How are you?
I'm good. We're getting
I see you got the old
hammered by snow. Absolutely hammered.
hammered. Yeah. Hammered is it's a lot of snow. I think you guys were, what, 8 to 20 inches was the estimate? Something like that?
Depends on who's measuring. I don't know. Anywhere between 3 and 2 feet. I don't know. No, I think it's like a little over a foot potential, but it varies. Yeah, it just depends on where they're at.
It's funny because Kendall and I were chatting about that earlier, and she's like, yeah, it's not that much snow. And I'm like, well, yeah, for like Colorado, because they're used to, the average is 12 to 20 inches, normally just laying around. But I don't know that Kentucky's infrastructure can really handle 15 to 20 inches of snow.
It takes a couple days. I mean, I think actually, we can get into this a little bit, but I think Louisville, there was some deal with Louisville where I think UPS said they'd end up pulling out of their airport if they didn't get the roads cleared within a certain period of time because they had work to do, and I think they're trying to do that. So.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, I guess money talks, right?
Yeah, I guess so. But.
So speaking of Louisville, we have a special guest on here with us today. Very good friend of mine. Been friends for I guess several years now. 3 years now, something like that. Coming up on our 3 years.
You do.
Yeah.
Craig, did I lose you?
Looks like you lost something.
Are we still recording? Is all I give a crap about.
We're recording on some level.
Okay. All right. So, welcome in Chris Hutchens, Maverick Multisport team director, and Chris and I, like I said, we've been friends for several years now, and I think it's only right for someone who's developed a sport like you have to have walkout music. Craig, do you have the walkout music for Chris?
Well done.
For those that don't recognize that, you probably should just stop listening right now. No, so Craig and I are very big University of Kentucky fans, and it turns out that Chris is a very big University of Louisville fan. He is as big a Louisville fan as we are Kentucky fans, and essentially we're supposed to hate each other and throw rocks, but it's it's kind of like that brotherly.
One out of three people has got it right on this.
1 out of 3. Here we go. There's their percentages class. So if Rick's strippers only got paid one time for every 3 appearances, so as you guys can see or hear, it's
Coach
always
Cal has a special calculator for that.
True story.
That's hilarious.
So, it's always a good time chatting with him. There's always some friendly jabs that go back and forth, and I think it actually started with when the very first time I talked to Chris, his thing was, oh yeah, I'm a Louisville fan, and I was like, oh really? And so it went on for months and months and months, and we've had a lot of fun with it, and obviously the friendship's grown, but it's always fun to kind of beat up on each other every now and then. So thanks for joining us today, Chris. We're very glad to have you.
Thanks for having me. So. Yeah, I think that's how we that was the very first conversation. Oh, I'm from Kentucky. Oh,
Are you Kentucky or are you Louisville?
Are you a Louisville fan? That's when you're with Cobb, and I thought, I'm gonna lose this contract before it even gets started. How do you answer this?
No doubt.
And it's a 50-50 shot, and you never know. You never know. So, but we're glad to have you on here today, and we brought you on because you're in a very unique position, and it's something that, what are you guys, 3 years into? Is this your third year?
Starting, well, the first year was kind of one of those, you're kind of getting your feet wet. And so really I would say this will be kind of like our third, this will really be our fourth year, but I would say this will be really our third year kind of as a full-fledged, like, hey, we're kind of, out there making our name known. So
Right. So Chris is the team director for Maverick Multisport. I've gotten to know, and I've known several of the athletes you've had on there, and it's always been a very, very high caliber of individual, very talented people, very dedicated people, and Chris has really secured some really cool sponsorships and partnerships, and so we thought we'd get him on here today, chat with him, because there's kind of a new, I think he did it last year a little bit, but this year seems he rolled out the age group team a little bit more broader, essentially, and so. I basically I want to hear about it. Like, I want to hear how it's going. I want to hear who the pros you have on board, and all that fun stuff.
Let's do it. Yeah.
So that being said, what pros did you retain from last year? Because I know there's been a couple that have carried over year to year. And I know Mike stepped away from the sport.
Yeah. Well, we just
who are your pros? That's probably easier.
So we retained Leslie Smith for this season, and then we brought on 6 new athletes, not new pros, but new to the team. So we've got 7 pros on the squad this year. We've kind of progressively added a pro every year. So we had 5 in 2014, and then 5, then 6. Now we're up to 7. So we've got Laurel and Rebecca Wasner on the squad this year. So nice to add those 2. And then you had Jessica Jones-Myers on the podcast a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And Sarah Cometto, who is out on the West Coast. She trains with Purple Patch. She's on the team. And then Jake Reiner, he's coming off kind of a short injury bout, but he's down in Claremont training full-time and is healthy. And then we added Jonathan Sheeran out in Tucson, Arizona. So he just went 820 at Arizona. Been top 35 as an amateur overall at Kona. So I think he's got big things ahead of him in 2016. So.
Good. And that's kind of been the theme I've noticed in the past few years since working with you is you get some of the pros are seasoned and been around, but then a lot of them are, I don't want to say developmental, but they're pros that are either just kind of coming into the ranks, but they're ones that, they come into your team and they have kind of this platform to build and to grow from. And essentially, I don't see it as you have lost pros over the years, just as you have promoted pros. Pros that they understand the market, they understand the business, they get better at racing, whatever it ends up being, and they find opportunities to excel and move on. So I think you're truly helping to foster the right mentality for these pro athletes.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I mean, I'll use Matt Hansen as an example. He was on the team in 2014, and when he was on our team, he had 3 Ironman run course records. He set the course record at Chattanooga, and I think being on the team worked out really well for him because, like you said, we kind of he obviously was very good at the swim, bike, run, but I think just kind of being a part of the organization, not patting yourself on the back too much, I think it did help for someone like him really to kind of develop kind of the business side of the sport. And I think that's what a lot of the people, that's what a lot of the athletes are really missing. Is like, okay, they've got coaches for swimming, they got coaches for biking, for running, but who's really coaching them on the business side of the sport? And I'm by no means an expert on it, so I don't want to come across like that, but I think that there is that other side of the fence that really kind of there's some people maybe need a little bit more, assistance or whatever it may be. So.
Yeah, and you and I have discussed it before, and that's been my kind of school of thought with it is it's so much more, and this is I guarantee you're going to agree, but there's so much more than just being fast at the swim, bike, and run. Like, you got to be personable. You got to manage social media, which is a big requirement for your team. You have to do that. You have to constantly, be promoting your sponsors because they are who make it possible. And unless you're at the top of the game, where your name is a household name, Andrew Starkowitz, Crowe, Rennie, if you're not in that top 10,
yeah,
you're only going to be as good as your last race to a sponsor. So you get into an environment like where you have a great, solid group of sponsors, great products, and you teach essentially the business side of it. And I think, when I asked you a minute ago, who did you retain? I probably should ask you, who did you promote? Like who learned and grew and moved on, in that aspect. And so on the pro side of it, I think that's incredible, because that's, I think, where a big weakness in the sport is they become pros and they're not salesmen. They're good they're great athletes.
Yeah.
A lot of them are shitty salesmen. It's just what it is. And so you take and you put them, you give them a success, a formula for success.
Right.
And they run with it, which is really cool to see. So props on what you've created and what you've built. I know it hasn't been easy. I created the Cobb Mob some years back, and I know the ass kicking that it can be. And so to do that for several years is an incredible feat in itself already.
Well, thanks.
And so, Craig, did you have anything? Craig's kind of out of the loop a little bit because he's not a triathlete yet, but he understands the sport probably more than a lot.
What triathlon are you doing this year?
Well, he's wrapping up his PhD.
Yeah.
And in 3.5 years, he will undertake an Ironman as promised.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my guarantee to Jeremy, that once I got out of school, because I'm putting about 15 to 20, 30 hours a week in training for my PhD, and it's tough to do both.
I understand. Yeah, absolutely.
But here's my question: for people that don't know your organization, what's your vision? What do you what is it that if you had a elevator pitch, so to speak, that you're going to present to someone, what is it that you tell them?
Well, the way our team is structured is I look at what a lot of the tour teams are doing, Tour de France, teams are doing, and just kind of how their business models are structured, and just from an organizational standpoint, how they kind of operate. And so I kind of look to them, how are they from January through December, how are they operating? How are they giving value back to their sponsors? How do they, from training camps to just social media presence, race presence, just kind of how do they operate? Because that model is very successful. Now, I mean, cycling is a little bit more of a team sport, as in, you're riding the peloton, you're trying to protect your A guy or your sprinter or whatever it may be. So it's a little different than triathlon, but I think the ability to put together, 5, 6, 7 athletes and pool them under an umbrella of all the same sponsors is a lot better for. I'll use, we're starting our 3rd year with Argonne. It's a lot better for a company like Argonne to come to us and say, hey, we will work with you, because they know the type of product that they're going to get. They know they're going to get 5, 6, 7 pros, plus they're going to get kind of this filter down effect that goes down through our age group ranks. And so it's, and they have one person to communicate with, as opposed to going to 7 different professionals.
Gotcha.
One person. So I think that's the big benefit, is just going to companies and saying, hey, you just have to deal with me, and I deal with everything else for you.
Right. So you're like the spokesman for everyone on your team.
Pretty much. Yeah. So.
And I will say, from a professional side, being with BSX and with Cobb and dealing with Chris, it's so much easier to deal with just one person that has 5 or 6 under them. And Chris, Craig, I'm sure you can probably relate to that in your IT. You've probably got sub managers or little deputies here and there that kind of oversee this group or this organization. Instead of having to deal with 30 people, you're dealing with 8 people that manage the 30. And from a business standpoint, I feel that the reach and the expense of the sponsorship is so much easier and more justifiable. Your return on investment's much higher.
Well, your message is more consistent.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very
Yep.
true. So, Chris, you alluded a little bit to your age group team, and I saw last year I think you had, 3 to 5 people on it, and this year I think you've expanded a little bit. I may be wrong on my numbers, but what's the...
Well, yeah, we had 6 age groupers on our team last year, 6 pros, 6 age groupers, and it was one of those things like, okay, let's just kind of test the waters with the age group ranks and see how that works out. The whole thought process behind that was when you're on the starting line at an Ironman race, challenge, whatever it may be, 98% of those people are age group athletes. So how can we as a brand, the Maverick brand that represents Argon and Envy and Jaybird and all these other companies, how can we as a brand reach more people, reach the people that are actually buying the products?
Buying power.
So we kind of like, okay, let's just start small, kind of see how it works, how much more from a management standpoint is it going to take to kind of, to work with these athletes, and then it worked out really well. As you know from being really active on social media, some of the best people on social media are actually amateur athletes.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely.
they're huge. It's so from a value standpoint, they provide a lot of value because they are able to just give you that increased bandwidth and that spider webbing reach, and that's kind of what we're all trying. That's what from a business standpoint, whether you're selling Cokes or chicken nuggets or widgets or whatever, the business is trying to reach more people. The more people you touch, the higher your chance of whatever.
And ultimately, on that same notion, the age groupers are the lifeblood of the sport. They're the ones buying it. The pros are not buying the new bikes.
No, the pros, no, absolutely. That's the biggest.
The pros are not buying a damn thing. Matter of fact, they're looking to sleep on a couch.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's from somebody who kind of like, my whole focus is just the business side of it, and so it's very kind of like I want to slam my head against the keyboard when I read the reports about the pros that are not making any of the money. They're not because
you don't get it.
They need to spend some of that energy, instead of tweeting about how little money they make, channel some of that energy into trying to actually develop relationships where they can make some money.
But I'm fast, Chris. Give me shit. I'm fast. I'm really, really, really fast. I promise you, I'm really fast.
That's right. Yeah. Pay me big bucks. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah. I'm going to show up on 8 Sundays in a year, and I need a lot of money for it.
And as soon as I cross that finish line, I am getting the hell out of Dodge. I'm not hanging out drinking a beer with anybody. You know what? Because I'm a celebrity. So no, yeah, totally get that. And you're right with the age group thing. I mean, you can obviously see it in Chris McDonald's BSR team. There's a move, there's a buying power, and I said it probably right around the time, if not a little bit before you and I met, is that teams are the new direction. This is before the Bahrain team. This is before. This is probably right at the time of Chris's team when the Cobb Mob team got started. Teams are kind of the future of the sport because it is a lone wolf sport, and that's where the buying power is, and more companies are going to start tapping into that, and less individual sponsorships to come out, except for that that top 10%.
I would say, and I've been told this by all the big bike manufacturers. There's literally, I mean, I could count them on my hands, and this is what they've told me, that there's literally that many people that could walk in and that they would be able to like demand something. Everybody else below that is
fighting for scraps.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, Craig, did you have any questions about the age group team, and maybe anything from your angle?
No, no, I don't. The only thing I can think about is when he was talking about the pros is that we just talked about that in the last podcast, which is people tend to get caught up in the obstacles, the barriers versus creating an opportunity out of the same situation. And when you get locked in on that negative thought, it's really hard to pull out of that spiral and get to a better place to where you can create some positive movement by finding not what I can't do, what can I do.
Right. Yeah.
Well, and I've seen I've seen Chris's team, and I think Hermanson was probably your longest, obviously a good friend of yours, but a long-term partner with the team, and just watched his development and growth over the years as far as even getting on more of the social media stuff. He became more active. He kind of understood that stuff. And I think from what you're doing, I kind of said a minute ago, but what you're doing, it sets people up for success, not just in the sport, but in the rest of life. Like it teaches people, hey, it's okay to go and talk to random people, and I think it's really fostering a strong movement within the sport itself, and teaching people who don't have business skills or business sense, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. They just don't know, and it's definitely a mentorship that you're doing.
Well, yeah, I mean, I kind of I had somebody ask me that question, like, hey, what do you do? And I was kind of telling them, and but really triathlon as like the marketplace is still kind of like the Wild West.
Very much so.
NFL, Major League Baseball, hockey, it's very structured. That agents, how everything is very contractually, delegated, and triathlon is still very new. And really, I mean, even from when Ironman started in the late 70s, that first 10-year span, those guys weren't even really getting paid, I mean, at all. I mean, the Dave Scotts so I mean, you're looking at a marketplace that's really only probably supported any type of income for maybe 15 to 25 years. So
right.
It's still very new.
Right, and you're right. It is very much, and they've tried to form some organizations on the top end that are, associations and such, and unfortunately, it's very disjointed because, if you and I are athletes and we've both won, Ironman races or whatever, and we both go to the same bike dealer, and you go up there and say, hey, I need $45,000 to ride your bike this year. And the guy that walks in the door, so I walk in the door behind you and say, hey, I just need a bike frame. Yeah, I'll take it for free. You can sponsor me. I'll just take a bike frame for free. Well, it completely undercuts you who has value, can provide value. And I've seen that more often than not, and that's right. That's where the agents come in, I think, balance out the request. And it's the same thing in the coaching ranks. And I know you're a swim coach, and you might see this in the swim world as well, but it's like, if all the coaches kind of came together, the entire industry as a whole would grow. Instead of me trying to do it full time, and there's a guy that'll coach people for $75 a month that's cutting my legs out from under me. And it's like, what do you do? And it's very much like that in the on the professional side of the world. And that's where, like I said, the teams like yours come in. So I guess the biggest question I've been really thinking about it. I didn't write this one down, but how deep in the tournament does Louisville go this year? That's really the only reason I had you on this damn show.
Yeah.
How deep? Are they Elite 18?
I don't know. They're looking good. They played ridiculous D against Pittsburgh in their game before last, and it just shut them down. And then the game the other night against Florida State, same type deal. So I think they're coming together, and they don't even have Mango back yet from his broken foot. So they got a 7
Elite 8
who was a starter sitting on the bench right now with a broken foot. Who's he'll be back in probably two or 3 weeks.
Right.
So I think Louisville, man. Seriously, I think Louisville. Go. Here it comes.
Here we go.
Uh-oh. I know. Go ahead. I think Louisville is a Final Four team.
Okay.
I really do. I mean, they're sitting at what, 16-3 right now? They shouldn't have lost that game to Clemson, and they should have beaten BBN. So.
There you go.
What they say, shoulda, coulda, woulda. I should have told myself. Yeah, here's my question. What comes first? A Patino national championship or him leaving the team? Just a curious question.
That's a good question with the rumors floating around. That's a good question.
No,
he's slated.
The rumors are I think everybody. There's a lot of chinks in the armor there for what's her name? Katina Powell. Yeah.
So,
I think that I think that's going to go kind of by the wayside. I think he's going to. He really dodged a bullet in 2011 with the whole Porcini's
in the kitchen
episode. Yeah. So I think he would. I mean, he's a smart guy. I mean, but he's obviously made mistakes. But I don't think he's. I think he's smart enough not to make another stupid mistake. Let's put it that way. So I'm pretty sure he did not know anything. If there was anything going on, I'm pretty sure he didn't know anything about it.
And I'm sure. I will say, I'm sure. I mean, they're college kids, right?
Yeah.
Think about if I didn't go to college.
Let's talk about some of the things.
Right, exactly. I'm like, I didn't go to college, but if you take my college time frame, I was in the military.
Yeah. Well,
do I want that stuff put under a microscope? Oh, hell no.
Well, let's just be fair. I mean, it is a big deal. There's no doubt it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. But there are far bigger things going on, too, or as big of things. For example, the 3,000 plus classes that North Carolina
right.
fake.
I mean, Louisville was just throwing some dollar bills around. I mean,
where did it go?
Making it rain.
That's right. Palms and breaking cash and checks.
Yeah,
well,
that's crazy.
And Chris, at the end of the day, the biggest thing is we're both real passionate about our schools, and they're both two elite teams. I mean, obviously we could say that, and the thing is the universities themselves make millions off these kids.
Oh, millions. Yeah.
So if a kid wanted to throw some $1 bills at a club, okay, fine, right?
Yeah.
Right.
If the kid wanted to accept a free steak at a restaurant because they offer it to him, okay, fine. Like, come on, it's not that big of a deal.
It's really not.
It's sad. You watch the college football national championship, Clemson and Alabama, and they're sitting. They got tons of millionaires sitting up in the suites, and you got all these poor kids on the football field that are
can't pay the They're lucky they have a scholarship, or else they wouldn't be able to pay for school.
Yeah, I mean they get a scholarship, but it's I don't know how they correct that problem. I mean they know what they're getting into when they go to college, but it is unfortunate that everybody else seems to be getting rich off of it and not the athletes. So, but
sure. It is what it is. Yeah. So Chris, let's kind of shift gears for a second. So from your vantage point, I mean, you've been, you went to Vegas and negotiated with big companies and secured deals and created relationships with businesses and athletes and people. Where do you see the direction of the sport in general going? Do you think it's slowly moving over to a team type of atmosphere?
No, I do. I mean, you wouldn't see a team like Bahrain 13 come together if there wasn't some value there. I mean, you've got the UPlace BMC team, you've got Timex. I saw that. Yeah. Snapple.
Snapple has a race team.
You say Snapple?
Snapple. They have a race team.
Okay.
These fuckers are fast runners.
Who's on the Snapple team?
Oh, I don't know. I just know they have a race team and they're really fast.
Yeah, well, I'm talking about some of the. I think just from a providing value standpoint to a company, it's a lot easier to go in there and put a package like that together.
Right.
So
where what's next for Maverick? Obviously, we're just starting the year. You've got your a lot of fresh faces. You got the age group team.
This is a performance on demand exclusive you're about to get right here.
All right, we'll send you the check. We'll send it in $1 bills.
No, we're actually getting ready to do our first destination training camp next month.
Okay, good.
Pros. So we are going to be working with Club Med, Sandpiper Bay in Florida. So we're going to be down there for about a week.
Good.
So just kind of one of those things. Every year we kind of sit back and talk about what went well, and I ask the athletes, what did you like, what did you hate, and one of the things is, okay, how can we improve, how can we deliver a better product in 2016, and the way we're going to do that is to start the year off with a training camp at Club Med, and it's not just to go there just to train, but we're obviously going there so that we can collect a lot of really good video and
content.
Content. Yeah, it's all about content, man. You got to deliver content. That's the thing. It's like, an athlete just can't show up 6 Sundays or 8 Sundays a year, and like, oh man, I had 8 great races, and you didn't see me for 358 other days of the year. So,
Right.
you know, it's like you gotta be delivering. I had a company tell me this in December, like the machine does not stop running in December, January, February. You know, they got to still continue to put gas in the machine and keep things churning along. So
Right.
that's one of the things we kind of talk about is like, it may be kind of like the slow time. There may not be a lot of races going on, but we need to continue to be engaged. Yeah, produce content, that kind of thing. So that's what it's about.
So with your current stable of pros, are we looking to? Do we have a legitimate shot at a 140.6 title this year?
Yeah. You know, one of the big things that companies came to me and said, okay, Chris, we've been with you for 3 years, 4 years. We've been with Swiftwick for 4. We've been with Infinite for 4. Argon for 3. Envy, this is our 3rd year. Cobb, this is our 3rd year. So a lot of the companies we start a relationship with, and we've been fortunate to just like stay with them and just continue to build on that relationship, which is great because we kind of get to know each other. And then instead of like starting back at square one, it's like, okay, we've already got this history. We kind of know how each company operates, and we can kind of continue to build on that. So I think for this year, the big push is, and it's kind of unfortunate, but again, it's like, you know, you play football, you know you got to get to the Super Bowl. You play basketball, you know you got to the NBA championships. Same thing in triathlon.
Right.
You know, if you get into the sport of triathlon, you know at some point you either got to go to the Olympics, 70.3 Worlds, or Kona.
Right.
That's it. I mean, that's how they do things. So, so the big push when we looked at who we wanted to bring on board this year was who has those goals in mind. We don't really have any Olympic distance athletes on the squad, so it's all 70.3 and Ironman distance athletes. So, yeah, I would say if kind of everything kind of goes as planned, we should have at least a couple at 70.3 Worlds and a couple at Kona this year. That's definitely the goal.
Good. And I will take a second, too, to commend you just because I have been around you long enough. And I've told people before, you are the hardest working team director in the sport. I'm not just saying it because you're right here.
That's coming from a UK fan.
I know, right? And we might as well just hug right there. But seriously.
Wow.
And that's the
Hug
thing.
Come on,
right?
Tighten it up.
That's the thing is, people don't see what goes on behind the scenes, and I've gotten to know you personally and professionally, and I know what goes on behind the scenes. And I also know that, you know, when we worked together with Cobb, you were the #1 person with a discount code that sold product. And so for a company, that's huge. When you've got a player like you, and the thing is no one else is as active on social media as you are or were. I haven't kept up with you like I should in the past year, but I know that it was always something. Your people were pumping out content. You were pumping out content. You did the training camps, and John came up and did the fittings and yada yada and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But you know, when you step back and look at it, that's what it takes to develop these relationships for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And that's what people, anybody that listens to this, even age groupers can get sponsorships, you know. And it's funny when you see an age grouper that's just like filled with a ton of sponsors. It's like they're doing something right.
Oh,
and
there are age groupers on our team who have got better websites and better social media presence than probably more than 50% of the pros out there.
Right. They get it. And that's the thing that's going to flourish the sport. All of a sudden sales increase, awareness increases, the sport grows in general. So I just wanted to throw that out there and to say that you and your team are definitely
I'm tearing up.
You should.
I wasn't going to cry on this podcast, but I'm tearing up.
Well, no, I think that tear is a holdover from the UK fight song that came on. So, but no, so are there any other things? I mean, you want to chat a minute? Do you have any new sponsors this year, or who are you guys partnered with?
Yeah, like I said, we're very fortunate to retain a lot of the same partnerships for this year. Argon, Envy, Jaybird, Rotor, Cobb, Infinite, Blue 70, Segoy. But we did swap out. We're working with Bolay for 2016. They actually just came out with a new Aero road helmet called the One, which is I met them at Interbike, had a really good conversation with them. We've been working with them since then, so excited to bring them on board. And we've also signed a partnership agreement with Ceramic Speed. So
nice.
Yeah, so Ben from Ceramic Speed.
Ben pal.
Yeah, Ben will be at our camp. So I've been, I've been working with Ben for about 2 years now. So this is, it's a big deal because they work with a lot of the big UCI and tour teams, and they're pretty picky with who they work with. There's a lot of pros out there that'll be at Kona that won't even see running Ceramic Speed. So it's so we're pretty stoked to have them on board this year. So
good. So are there any final things you want to cover, or Craig, maybe you have a couple of questions you want to throw out before we bring this to a halt?
No, I don't. I mean, this is really let me ask this.
Hit me. What's your PhD going to be?
What's
your PhD going to be in?
Do what?
What's your PhD going to be in?
It's in psychology.
Oh no.
I like it.
He's about to analyze me. So.
Oh no.
Shit just got real.
That's
the mental side of things is what I really enjoy, especially when it comes to athletes. It's phenomenal, and we've had such good success, especially with the Mind group, with that, and providing the opportunity for the coaches to actually function, because sometimes the athlete has something that's in their way, and so I have the ability to get in there and pull those away from them so that the coach can do what it is that they do best.
Yeah.
Just coach them up. But what I hear is, so age groupers are really where it's at, but yet they don't get a lot of money. They get none. Really, they get a trophy, right?
Yeah.
So then these companies, whether it's Felt or Cannondale or whoever else it is, they're getting all their money from the age groupers too. Do you think at some point that'll start to evolve to where there is a payback that the age groupers start to receive to kind of feed back into what it very much is the money in the sport?
Oh yeah, I mean,
it's just a different. I was just thinking about it.
The age groupers, without divulging everything, the age groupers on our team are fortunate to receive some level of support. So, and I think that is really.
Damn, I should have applied this year. Son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Jeremy, are you an athlete?
Yeah.
I wasn't when I did my swim.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
But I think that is what is really working well for us, is we're leveraging the pro age group relationship. We're able to say, hey, we've got this stable of pros, but we've also got this large platform of age group athletes that will also be not only supporting the team and the pros, but also be supporting you as sponsors. And ultimately, when they're sitting there making the decision, they're going, okay, well, that's the buying public. That's right. Who we're ultimately trying to market to anyway. That makes sense. So, so I think for us, that business model is a while you kind of become clouded because you're so entrenched in it for so long, and it's nice to have somebody to kind of from the outside looking in going, why are you doing that? And then you have to think about it because you haven't had that question posed before, and you're like, that is a damn good question. So,
right. So Chris, last thing from me. What now? Are you doing this full time, or do you work as well?
The quick 60 seconds on me. I was actually an airline pilot for about 5 years for Delta, and then when we had our third child, speaking of our third child, here he comes right now.
Welcome in, buddy.
But anyway, I left the airline and kind of got back into. I was a college swimmer, got back into coaching, coached at Lakeside. big USA Swim Club here in town, and then kind of got back into doing some coaching, and then just kind of started this 4 years ago, basically helping out a couple pros that I know, help them get some sponsorship, because they were basically out there, you know, swimming, biking, running, killing themselves, and they had nothing to go for it. You know, I was like, let me help you out. You know, you're doing this all wrong. I did that in college. I got a marketing degree from Louisville, so there you go.
They actually give out degrees?
I do. Yes, we do give degrees. They're on paper. Yes. So,
They're on the back of receipts from the bar.
yeah, ATM receipts. So.
Yes.
Yeah. So I did that actually right out of college. I worked for a marketing firm, and we did we planned lots of live events. I worked on the magazine there called Southern Gaming and Destinations, which was a horse racing and gambling magazine. So I handled all the ad space for that magazine. So I had a history of basically putting together proposals for companies saying like, hey, this is what we can do if, you know, in exchange for, you know,
right.
This type of. So I already had that background. So I was like, man, let me just help you out with this. You're doing it all wrong. So, are you doing tequila shots?
I am not. So.
Oh, you were like licking salt off your fingers and.
No, I'm actually bleeding.
Jose Cuervo.
I'm actually bleeding. I apparently scratched myself. So are you doing still your coaching?
No. So I've kind of gotten away from coaching just because our 3 kids are all to the age now where they're all involved in sports. It's just too hard for me to coach in the evenings anymore and on weekends. So this is full time for me. I mean, I've got 7 pros and 20 age group athletes, so I'm staying fairly busy.
Created him. It's like herding cats. Go ahead and say it, Chris.
Yeah, exactly. So
herding cats with a broken broom.
With a taser.
I have heard of your tactics. I applaud you, sir. So, Chris, if people want to get in touch with you or follow the team, you know, what's the best way to show you guys support for what you guys are doing for the sport and for these athletes?
Yeah. Well, you can go to maverickmultisport.com. You can check us out on facebook.com/Maverick Multisport. We're on Twitter @MavMulti and on Instagram @Maverick Multisport. We also have a YouTube station, Maverick Multisport, Maverick Multisport TV.
YouTube station.
We haven't used Periscope a whole lot, just because it kind of came out right at the end of the season as things were wrapping up. But we will probably be doing quite a bit of Periscoping next month when we're at Club Med at training camp, doing some live stuff, because we'll have some companies down there that are going to be doing some symposium type deals on new products that we're going to be using. So I think that'll be pretty informative for not only our athletes, but for people who may be interested in, like, you know, new ceramic speed oversized pulley systems, or, you know, want to take a look at the new R9 Tri, whatever it may be.
Right. Good. Sounds like you guys got a lot of really, really good things going, and each year I've watched it build. It's been a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah.
So, Craig, you got anything else?
Are we good?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, all right. Well, if you want to get a hold of us, performanceondemandpodcast@gmail.com. You can also get a hold of Jeremy over there at mindrightmultisport.com. And as you heard, you know how to get a hold of Chris. If you need anything else, you can give me a call. Not really, just kidding.
Here's a code to call someone who cares.
Yeah, so email me over at CraigWillard at u-discover.com, and let me help you get your mini coaching set up. Thanks. Good?